Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me, as always, is the man who deleted his post about Ronaldo going to City. It's
Oh,
Logan Stump.
that's 2 days in a row. That's brutal. That'll really that just hurts. Honestly, I'm sad. I'm so sad. Maybe he'll come to Orlando City after he's done playing
Oh
there.
yeah, that's right on the top of his
I'm
list.
sure that he'll say he's coming to Orlando and then end up in Miami at their airport or something stupid.
Yeah,
The 12th DP.
yeah. Instead of the 12th man, they got the 12th DP. So we got a lot to talk about. We got the skills challenge, the All-Star game, some of the weekend results, U.S. men's players on the move, and then of course World Cup qualifying preview. And we still have MLS games going on the weekend, so it is a lot to get through. So let's just get to it, right? Let's just get to it. Well, I guess first, how are you doing?
No, I'm good. A lot of soccer, and then all of a sudden it stops. So that's what sucks. Like when Premier
Yeah,
League gets back, Premier is going on, and then it's like MLS. But then although now it's World Cup qualifying, so it's interesting. So I mean, those games are a
I'm
lot more fun.
thankful. I'm thankful for the EPL
Mhm.
break. Really,
Yeah,
I am.
yeah,
Because that takes up most of my Saturdays. Then is
that's
EPL,
true.
then MLS, and then
Hmm.
at least this case, it's like, all right, just focus on. I'm just gonna pretty much focus on the World Cup qualifying and watch the
Hmm.
MLS games if I can, if they're not overlapping.
So I have a kid in class, and we kind of have like this study hall thing. It's called LLT, and towards the end of it, like when they were packing up, like 10 minutes before class or so, we were looking through like because we had been talking about it a little bit, the World Cup qualifying, and then like the last 10 minutes before class, like the two kids came up and sat by me, and we were just going through like the World Cup qualifying and looking at Asia and looking at Oceania and trying to understand like all their qualifying because it's different because those two kids are European, so one's German and one's Scottish, and they both obviously follow their countries. And then I follow CONCACAF, and they actually like our system better because it's easier to understand because once you get to that final round, it's 8 teams instead of like
Shorter,
in
instead of
yeah
all the groups and stuff.
right. Like we were looking at Asia. I didn't realize Asia was 3 years. They once World Cup ends, they start their next qualification. It's nuts.
CONCACAF is kind of like that, but it's going to
Yeah,
be all the lower teams.
right,
Like
right.
we won't get into it until like a
Hmm.
year before, typically.
It's so weird because it's not normal it's different for each region of the world, so they've got different ones, and then they've got different teams. Like sometimes Oceania doesn't have one team that qualifies or could have a team that qualifies depending on how well they play. Asia could have 4 or 5. CONCACAF could have 3 or 4. So it's so weird just to look at the different qualifications. The one in Europe is probably the more complex of the bunch, just because it's like they take like the top 10 teams out of the groups and then 2 of the teams that are ranked high or something. It's so confusing to me, but maybe you can explain it. But yeah, so we
In
were doing that.
Asia, where's Fiji at? Because me and my friend Dave used to do
Oh yeah, the Fiji World Cup things.
Fiji qualifying. So they're in Oceania. So what we'd have to do is like, since they were so far down on the thing, especially Fiji is like lower than like Australia.
Yeah,
Or,
New
Australia went to
Zealand.
Asia, but like New
Right.
Zealand's still in Oceania. But but we would have to start like the qualifying at the very lowest rung, pretty much as
Hmm.
Fiji, try to work our way up, but we never got there. That was like 2006 and 2010 World Cup games, and we never made it. But because we'd have to start so early,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you get to a point and you lose, and you're like,
Yeah, it's like
"Suck."
over.
Like we just did that for a whole night or 2 nights that he stays over. It's like, what do
Mhm.
we do now?
Yeah. That's what my brother did in college. Like we would literally
Mm.
all night, because I had like late classes early on in college, so like didn't have to get up early. And there would be nights, like 4 or 5 nights in a row, where we would try to qualify. We could never win the World Cup. Like if we get to like the finals and lose, it's awful.
Yeah, I think they just recently for the 2018 one stopped where they do the full qualifying, which sucks
Hmm.
because like that's what made it fun. It's having all the nations and being
Hmm.
able to, do whatever. So all right, let's go ahead and talk MLS All Stars and the skills competition. So I was watching the skills competition on Tuesday, and it was all right. It was all right. I mean, it was fun, but let me tell you, everybody was having a ball with the Mexican goalkeeper going down, faking his injury. I was not having fun with that at all. I will say I was very pissed, actually, and I know that makes me sound like probably like a boomer or something, right? But it was, it's just unsportsmanlike. I don't care if it's fun, really. It's like, Pepe is up there trying to do his points. We never interfered with the Mexican team getting points, so it just felt very CONCACAF, and it's something we don't usually get because, like, when we play these I think last time they did the skills comp, we were playing against, other European teams or something that are not going to pull that.
Right.
But I think they even got a bonus point for that from like some sort of fan vote or something. I don't know. It was all confusing to me because I kind of came in. I didn't watch the first round or two of stuff, and that was one of the first rounds I tuned in for, and that was very confusing. I was like, I'm kind of jumping in halfway here, and I have no idea what's going on. But the crossbar challenge was fun, but I thought poorly planned, maybe, like going to the halfway point after 25 points, after it took them forever to get 25 points, and then having to nail one from halfway. I was like, we could be here all night. Like, we might be here all night. Now, luckily somebody hit it and it ended. And you know what? Liga MX, they won the skills competition, but MLS won the All-Star game, and that's obviously the more important trophy of the two. But skills comp is fun. They're trying to make it like a like the NBA dunking or skills thing, or I think NHL has a skills thing, and baseball has the home run derby. But I think soccer is very hard to do this for. What's your thoughts on skills challenges as a whole? Like, what can we do? And I like that they're kind of like the FIFA games, right? When you're booting up FIFA and it's loading. But what can we do to make this more interesting? Kind of like a home run derby where people tune in to watch that. What would be the equivalent?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I guess the biggest thing for me would be, like, I love PKs, and I think it'd just be fun to have multiple goalkeepers or something like that, where they get to select, like, hey, I get to go first and second, and then I get to, like, different penalties from different spots or something like that would be fun. Or, just kind of like around the world, or like who can make the longest free kick and pass the goalkeeper.
What if they did the old MLS shootout where you start like halfway or like, and then you have to like dribble up and do it in a certain amount of seconds? That'd be
fun. Yeah, kind of like, I mean, that's kind of like hockey essentially, because the hockey does that where they kind of start back and then they come up to the puck and get it. But I don't know, like you said, it's so tough because other than that, I mean, then you're thinking heading a soccer ball 100 times would really not be good, consecutively. And then maybe, like, I guess you could play, what? You could do like horse, because I saw Nani doing stuff like this. Like, it was like a horse where he's behind the net and he chipped it up over, and it kind of had backward spin, and
that could be fun.
So I think like maybe like that, something like that, or like crossbar where you have to hit a crossbar.
You play all-star, right? And instead of horse, you have to spell out all-star.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's something. Or
soccer,
like,
I don't know.
Yeah, having players. I mean, I know there might not be a lot of teams that would like this, but maybe having players in the goalkeeping.
That's a good way to get injured.
Yeah, it'd be fun. But I don't know. Like you said, I don't know. There's nothing equivalent to, like, nothing I'd get like pumped about, though. I mean, goalkeeping is the only thing I can think of.
Penalties are probably the closest, and I guess they don't that, right? Because then they're going to have to, maybe like they did this year, go to penalties in the All-Star game, and then now like the goalkeeper knows how everybody attacks the penalty or whatever, so it might be, maybe that's why. I'm not really sure.
Maybe have them play FIFA.
Yeah, that's the All-Star game.
Yeah,
the skills comp
FIFA,
is just playing FIFA on PlayStation. But the All-Star, the MLS All-Stars beat Liga MX All-Stars. 1-1 was the final score, but they win in penalties 3-2. I don't think there's too much to say about this. It is nice though that this was like in the same summer as the USA winning the Nations League and the Gold Cup, because it's like one more thing America won over Mexico.
Yeah.
You know? Even though we have players on the All-Star team that were Mexican or other nationalities like Nani and stuff, but it was still fun. I think it was a good way to not seriously track our progress or anything, but you know, to be able to say we won that, because I think a lot of times people did not expect us to win this, and I actually forget what we said last week on if we said we were going to win or not. But
I think we both agreed that we had a good chance to win, but I think you went more Mexico.
I don't know. I'll have to listen to it.
The best thing that came out of All-Star midweek or whatever they call it, the best thing that comes out of it is Ricardo Pepi, the news that broke, because there was like rumors going around that Ricardo Pepi was going to choose USMNT.
Yeah.
And that's where it like gained ground. Like I saw a bunch of the national writers were covering it. And there was an Andrew Wiebe goal. And then there was also an Andrew Wiebe
whiff. Yeah.
So those were the highlights.
Yeah, really. And can we make this not on a weekday? Can we make these on a weekend, please?
Yeah.
Like, just fix the schedule so this happens.
Right.
I understand both of these leagues were probably playing games on the weekends, but schedule in a break where maybe we can on a year where there's no like qualifying for the World Cup. Maybe next summer we'll be able to do this again and, you know, have it on a weekend or whatever. But yeah, All-Star games on the weekdays is not great for me.
Or do it like the Pro Bowl and have it after the season, but then you're talking it's going to be really cold. I mean, I guess you could play indoors.
You could play like Florida or California.
That's true. Yeah. Which, I mean, they would anyway, probably. So.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Let's see here. So let's go into the weekend that was. We had Columbus beat Cincinnati in the Hell is Real Derby 3-2. This, though, was not looking good for Columbus for a while. Columbus took the lead through Zelarayan in the 45th minute, but then Cincinnati equalized through Matarrita in the 45th plus third minute. Then we had Atanga give them the lead, Cincinnati, that is, in the 74th minute. And then Barry scoring in the 81st and 82nd minute to give Columbus the win. I mean, this is not one of the ones I was watching. I was watching another game, I think, at this time or something. And I remember seeing like, oh, Columbus is losing. This is pretty crazy. Not much time left in the game. Like, I guess they're going to lose another one. Then I see it like 2 minutes later and it's 3-2. And you're like, oh, geez, that was pretty crazy. But Columbus, you know, they win a rivalry match. They've, you know, I guess kind of broken their losing streak, which was at like 6 games. So good for them. Any thoughts here on Cincinnati or Columbus?
I guess Columbus, they've got to collect points. We're getting to that point where any drop points could be the difference between you making that playoff run and not. And I guess this team, and maybe Atlanta, if they got hot at the right time, like they could push a playoff team. I mean, they could really, you know, force a team in the top part of the Eastern Conference to have a tough first round match. I'm not sure that either team can beat one of the top 2 or 3 teams, but you know, I think with Columbus, you take the points. It's been a hell of a year for Columbus, just the injuries alone. And Kevin Molino's now out for the year.
Out for the year, yeah.
Right. So, and there's a lot of teams that are now missing some pretty important pieces in the midfield and wing spots. So, you know, it sucks because Columbus was supposed to be this really good team. They already lost Aiden Morris. Is it Aiden Morris? Why does that sound wrong?
Sounds right?
That sounds right. Why does that sound wrong to me? No.
Yeah, that's right.
It is? Okay. I was like, why does it sound wrong? I think because I'm thinking Jordan Morris. But speaking of, we can get to that too. But yeah, no, I think with Columbus, you have to collect as many points as possible. And it really sucks just because, again, Zardes has been naggled with injuries, I think they call it in England. But it's good when you have Zell around because he can do some things. But again, good on Columbus to collect some points here. playing against a Cincinnati team that isn't great. So.
Yeah, speaking of Cincinnati, they are now in 13th place. They got 2 points above Toronto. Toronto's just been that bad, I guess. But they've also Toronto's also played 2 more games than them. So Cincinnati still has a way to keep on moving up the ladder here. But that puts Columbus in 8th place with 27 points. They're only 3 points back of DC United. So after that tough stretch, it's looking up for Columbus, and they could still finish in a playoff spot. They're not dead yet.
No.
Montreal did defeat a team that is theoretically dead right now. It's Toronto, 3-1.
Yeah.
Montreal with a red card to Okello in the 5th minute for Toronto. Then in the 23rd minute, Piet scores for Montreal. Then an equalizer through Toronto through Achara. That is in the 58th minute. Then in the 68th minute, Torres scores for Montreal. And then my boy Kyoto in the 75th minute, gives them the last touch there of 3-1 for Montreal. So a little nervy there for Montreal after, getting a late equalizer to Toronto, being able to turn around. That leaves Montreal in 6th place right now with 31 points. They're only 1 point back of the Union, who have not been playing well at all, as we'll talk about. And that leaves Toronto in 14th place with 15 points. And spoon contender for sure, because everybody in the West has at least 19 points. So looking not so great for Toronto and Cincinnati battling it out down in the wooden spoon territory. And congratulations, Montreal, who we had in the wooden spoon category. And in the bottom of the East, they've been playing very well. Maybe the Terry Henry thing, was a blessing in disguise.
Continuing to impress us. But if you're Toronto, that's got to be worrisome, because I know when they added Soteldo that they thought like this was a team that could be really competitive. Now they're all the way down in the bottom of the East and don't look heavy favorites for the wooden spoon.
Yeah, I mean, they were so close to the Supporter Shield last year.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, we add on Soteldo and maybe we're better, but I think losing Greg Vanney has just been a disaster for them.
And not having Akinola around, too.
I think he saw the writing on the wall, and he got out at the perfect time. He really did. To jump ship to Galaxy, who have been good to him so far. Orlando City drew with Miami in are we calling this the Florida War? I kept seeing people say that.
Yeah, I heard that. I don't like it. I don't Florida.
Like that.
I like Derby. I mean, Florida Derby sounds fine to me. Like, I like that.
Is it a war, Logan?
No, it's
Florida
more of like a lopsided.
I mean, Orlando versus Miami, is that?
I don't think I've ever seen a war going on. Maybe I can look outside, but
does Orlando and Miami not like each other, like city-wise, or?
I mean, I don't like Miami, but I like the Dolphins, but I don't like the city. But no, there's never been like Orlando. They're so different in the way that they entertain people. Miami is very much PG-13 plus, and Disney, you could argue, is family friendly. So no, I have never seen where. I mean, I honestly I think most people think Orlando's a better city if you're looking for all around good time, whereas Miami's more of a party city. But no, I don't have any bad blood with Miami, and they've never been that threatening. So it's not like it's been a good rivalry.
I'm just Googling. I guess because, I don't know, UCF and South Florida call themselves the War on I-4, so maybe they're getting it from that.
The I-4 war. But that's a stretch because Miami's not even.
Yeah, so they left off the I-4 part, right? They were like, but Florida War, like War on I-4 at least rhymes, right? Like, Florida War is just like, it doesn't roll off the tongue. It's not, I don't know what, not every derby needs a great name though either.
No, and I don't think you really come up with one besides
like
Derby.
Like some of the English ones are just like the London Derby.
Which is like Derby. All of the London teams.
The Merseyside Derby. They don't have like all these names. Like I don't even really like Hell is Real. Do we know where that comes from? Because I don't.
I'm guessing playing in Cincinnati is like billion in hell. I don't know. I have no idea.
And Crew's just like, that's real over there.
Yeah, it's real down there. It's like heaven and hell. I don't know. Like I guess
Google that too.
Like it's not hot there. And it's funny because Cincinnati was not really a big club until recently, so it's not like they were. I mean, most Columbus played them when they were a smaller team.
So the name was created by fans for both teams in 2017 prior to their first competitive meeting in the U.S. Open Cup. It derives from a religious sign that reads "Hell is real" and located on Interstate 71.
Which is what connect those two.
Yeah. Otherwise, I guess that's fine then if that's something they came up with, but it's just like I'm like that's a weird name for it. Like they got to roll off the tongue. Like I think the ones that are typically around us are like the Atlantic Cup or whatever, which is a lot of the teams over here in the Atlantic taking place, and you have the Hudson River Derby, which is a nice name for the New York one.
El Trafico might be the best name.
El Trafico is really great.
Great.
What else could Florida be? I don't know. I just don't like Florida War.
No.
So I challenge the supporters to come up with something a little better.
Yeah. I like Cascadia, like the Cascadia.
Yeah, the Cascadia region.
That's fun.
That one's good. The Cascadia Cup and everything. I don't know. The
what do they call Texas? Does Texas have one now? It's like the three of them.
I think it's just the Texas Derby.
Texas
is what I kept seeing.
Let's just leave the names alone. Let's just call them derbies like the English do.
Florida Derby.
So much easier.
I mean, Orlando and Miami have not really ever
been
put
rivals.
I was going to say put up a war effort in MLS at all. Miami is like if they're like the Confederates, then I guess the Miami, because they're just getting destroyed each time.
Right.
But
like I-4 War would be great if the teams were Orlando and Tampa or Jacksonville and Orlando, but they're not. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be I kept seeing this hashtag, but I don't see other people really calling it that. So I don't know if it's actually the thing or not.
Maybe we just made it up and it.
No. I definitely saw it.
It got steam. Like I just imagine some parody account that looked like Orlando City called it the War of Florida or whatever they call it. I don't like it. I don't like that name.
Yeah, well, it finishes 0-0. So
I didn't like the game either. It wasn't fun.
Yeah, no, not a fun game for Orlando, who are struggling, but they're still hanging in there. They're still second place.
Everybody else is struggling,
which is great. Yeah, everybody in the East right now is struggling except for New England.
Right.
At this rate, and New England did lose, so there is that to talk about as well. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna try to look this up again here. But we can move on. Yeah, I saw Unite to Watch, the account that tries to get everybody to watch MLS. It says Florida War is Hell is Real, followed by Florida War. But that might be the only one I see with that hashtag. So maybe he just created that trying to make something happen. I don't know.
I mean, I think the Hell is Real depicts Florida better than Ohio. Well,
humidity and everything too. Yeah.
Yeah. Traffic. Like, we have it all. We could be Hell is Real. We could be El Trafico. We've got everything.
El Trafico. Oh boy. We got Atlanta, Nashville, which was not 2-2. It was 2-0 Nashville. So that was pretty funny. Rio is 45th minute and Leal in the 90+5. So both of those goals in stoppage time of each half. So that's fun. Nashville just continues scoring 2 goals against Atlanta. This time they didn't give up any, and they're continuing
take that second spot.
Yeah, they're in 3rd place. They're tied with Orlando on games played and points.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think before they were always behind on points for a bit, so they've kind of caught up there.
Yep.
Except for the time where they leapfrogged to second, but that was a games played thing. But now they're all even, and they're 35 points. NYCFC, who we haven't really talked about much, is up to 34 points. with 20 games played, so they can actually leapfrog to second with the game in hand they have. So watch out for NYCFC. And then and let's just talk Red Bulls real quick. Chicago beat them 1-0, Barrich scoring in the 32nd minute as Red Bulls continue to underperform. They're all the way in 12th place with 22 points. But they're at least 5 points up on Cincinnati and at least, 7 points up on Toronto. So 12th or higher is pretty much where Red Bulls should finish this season. It's not great, but I think they're going to have to make a management change at the end of the season. I think they're going to have to look at rebuilding it. And this is part of the issue with the clubs that have came in to MLS. I mean, Red Bulls have been around since 96, but they used to be called the Metro Stars. And I saw somebody point this out on Twitter. I forget who it was as well, but we now have both of our New York teams who are feeder clubs for another big team over in England. You have Red Bull, New York, who sends their players to Salzburg or Leipzig and whichever. And you have NYCFC, Manchester City, Melbourne City, all the teams that they own now or whatever. The issue with that is New York deserves their own team that's not like, okay, LA, we have LAFC and LA Galaxy, both unique teams that can, maybe determine if the city can determine if they represent them or nothing. But NYCFC without a stadium, playing in Yankee Stadium, not putting a good product on the field. They're up to 4th place, right? Like we just said, but they don't have the star power. They don't have anything. They never usually win trophies. Then you have Red Bulls who are just, they used to have the stars, Terry Henry and Tim Cahill. And then they've stopped doing that, went to the more youth model where they're shipping players overseas. And now the final product isn't on the pitch anymore. They've won supporter shields as recently as like 2018, right? But I think New York deserves more. We haven't got a chance to talk about this on the baseball show yet, but we just had the whole Mets story with the thumbs down and then booing the fans and all that kind of stuff. And that made waves, even for shows that don't talk baseball.
Yeah.
And we're an MLS show that barely even touches on NYCFC or Red Bulls because they're just not doing anything. And that's frustrating because how are we going to make soccer big here, or MLS big, let's say, if the New York teams are not good? If the New York teams are not, doing what they're supposed to be doing in those markets, at least having a star or putting together a winning team. One of those teams should have won MLS Cup by now. It's been 25 years that we've had teams in New York with no MLS Cup. It's been 6 years, right, for NYCFC, and they've I think they maybe won something, if I'm remembering right. Maybe not. Let me double check. If anything, it's a supporter shield. It's definitely not MLS Cup, but they do. No, I don't think they have anything. Yeah. So they don't have a stadium. They don't have trophies. They've been close to supporter shields. They've gotten second. Here you go. They got second in 2016, second in 2017, third in the East in 2018, first in the East in 2019, but not good enough for supporter shield. That ended up going to the West. And since David Villa left, they just haven't had the stars. Their attendance is going down since the first year. They don't have a stadium, as we've talked about numerous times. Playoff runs haven't really ended well for them. They've got knocked out in the quarterfinals the first few years and last year in round 1. They've never made it past the quarterfinals for an Open Cup. They usually get bounced down in round 4. That's just not good enough for New York teams. Red Bulls at least have won a supporter shield. But I don't know. It's just frustrating because the New York market is so huge. You need a team there that's going to draw people in. And right now, neither of those teams are drawing in. And you know what? I don't even know how an NYCFC fan would know what stadium to go to on game day. Are they going to Yankee Stadium or going to Red Bull Arena or am I going to Connecticut? Where's the game? It's a mess. I don't want to rant too much, but at least they're winning, I guess, NYCFC, but still not good enough, I guess.
It's deserved. I mean, Red Bull seemed to be a mess, and Gerhard Struber's not it. And with NYCFC, I guess we'll see how the season ends. They're playing pretty well. They've made some nice additions with Thiago playing pretty well, and Castellanos, who actually Manchester City were at one point thinking about taking Castellanos as one of their strikers, but that got shut down pretty quickly because this.
Well, that's the thing that just annoys me the most out of it, right? There's no. Even if we had one of them, if like the Red Bulls were not ever bought by Red Bulls and they were still Metro Stars, we'd at least be like, that New York's team, that is still a team that was here from originally. But both of these teams don't seem to be actually taking this seriously. And that's what's frustrating. A team that should be in New York is a team like Seattle or Portland that's putting money into it, that is constantly competitive. That should be how it is. But not that I want a New York team to win MLS Cup, obviously. Yeah. I'm not like most of the sports that I follow New York's, like I hate New York teams. So it's not like a big deal for me. But when we're talking about potential growth of soccer, it's tough.
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of transitioning into like, I know one of the topics coming up, but and we'll get to the West too, but you're talking about, major market teams that aren't doing well, that are underperforming. Well, I mean, now you've got New York City, who's got two teams that are, one's good, one's, gotten better and is getting better with NYCFC, but they're probably the best of the litter, because then you're talking about LA, where the Galaxy kind of in that same spot where like they could be better. They could be challenging for the league all the time, but they just don't have the investments that they need. And then LAFC, who recently have now decided that they're a small club, and now they're going to sell Diego Rossi. They're going to struggle because Carlos Vela is not who he once was. So now you've got these huge markets. Atlanta struggling. Those are really big.
I think markets. LAFC will be able to turn it around.
Yeah,
not this year.
No,
but I think they'll bring in people that'll help for them. But I guess let's talk about them, right? You talked about Diego Rossi is leaving, I think only for like $2.5 million, by the way, too, for somebody that just won Golden Boot. So not a big number. And he's going to Fenerbahce, which is like nobody else wanted this kid. Like we have like everybody scouting Americans over here and taking them to like I don't know how many MLS players just went to Venezia,
right?
But Jack DeVry did. Right, Jack DeVry's on loan there now, and they got everybody. Nobody wants Diego Rossi in one of those bigger leagues. It's just, I mean, the good thing is Fenerbahce is a big team in Turkey, but it's just strange.
All the U.S. players, like you said. I mean, Weston McKennie, and we've got 8 minutes until the deadline. I think it ends, but like Weston McKennie was thrown around today in transfer talks. That's a U.S. men's player. Tyler Adams.
I think with the Weston one, I just want to say, I think Sky is wrong. I don't think I haven't seen anybody else talk about it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody but Sky talk about it. And we heard from Roger Gonzalez, who's more in tune from CBS, and he's more in tune with like U.S. men's players and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he said he's staying put. So that's what I'm assuming. Plus, he's all the way over here in camp. So how would he even move over there right now?
Yeah. But just the fact that Diego Rossi is moving to a team that I would never have pegged. I'd have pegged him for one of the bigger leagues. Like he was ready for that move back to a bigger league. And, I think that that's where he belonged. But making this move when Josh Sargent's playing in Norwich in the Premier League, Pulisic playing with Chelsea, Tyler Adams playing for Leipzig, Chris Richards being, who he, what is he, Byron?
He's going to Hoffenheim.
He's going to Hoffenheim.
He's going loan back out. Yeah.
But then, I mean, just players like that. I mean, you've got Miazga. Where did he end up? He ended up off of Chelsea, didn't he?
Yeah, he went to a Serie A team as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all won us, huh?
Right.
Well, it's all big now leagues. On loan to. No, he went. Did he go to La Liga? He went to La Liga.
Right. Yeah.
Alaves,
right.
Deportivo Alaves.
So again, all these big U.S. players moving to big leagues, but like a Diego Rossi, who was Golden Boot last year, and a really good player.
I don't get it.
I don't understand. Like, why did he go? Yeah, sure. let's do it.
I think he sees it as like how we've seen, like Weston going to Schalke as then a stepping stone to Juventus. Yeah. I think he thinks if I go to Fenerbahce, then I can play Europa stuff, or I don't know which one they're. I think they're in Europa League, right?
Yeah.
And then he can maybe play a year or two there, and then leap over to one of the bigger teams for a final move. Because how old is Diego Rossi?
I gotta say mid-20s at least, like 27,
right.
28.
He's not super young, I don't think.
No.
He is 23, so actually he's younger than I thought.
Yeah, he is younger than I thought. I thought he was 27, 28.
But still, okay, 104 games, 48 goals in his 3 years. It's pretty good numbers. So, but LA play against the Galaxy in El Tráfico. That finished 3-3. It was a wild game. 20 minutes in, Jolovic scoring for LA Galaxy, scoring again in the 64th minute to make it what's the score there? 2-2 at that point, because then Arango scored in the 44th minute on a penalty for LAFC. Brian Rodriguez scoring in the 58th minute. Then Jolovic in the 64th. Then Rodriguez again in the 67th. Then Cabral in the 86th to give us a 3-3. And this was on national TV, and this was good for the league. This is the stuff that, and they have stars on both of these teams. Like, I think there's a reason now why we're going to see El Tráficos on national TV all the time, and why we don't see the Hudson River Derby on TV all the time now, because there's just nothing there to promote. They'd be like, hey, we're playing the Hudson River Derby in Red Bull Arena, but NYCFC is the host team today. It's just a mess. And I'm probably lost all of our New York listeners. I apologize. But if you want to rant with me, you can. One thing to note as well, that game against Red Bulls and NYCFC that they took like 3 hours to cancel has been rescheduled for September 22nd, which is a Wednesday.
Midweek match.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And
but, they're
playing in City Field.
Oh, I was thinking like NYCFC. I was also reading something at the same time, but yeah. Good one. All right, NYCFC beat the Rebs 2-0. Castellanos in the 32nd and 55th minute. No, not the Nick Castellanos. This is, the NYCFC Castellanos. But 2-0. Victory for NYCFC over New England Revs. Just this was at Yankee Stadium. Just something that went NYCFC's ways this time. And they've been playing good, but it's have just been other level right now. When we look at the stats, it ended up being. Sorry, the site loads a little slow. 52% to NYCFC. 19 shots to NYCFC and 5 shots on goal to New England, only putting one on goal. But good on NYCFC to get some points against the Revs, and I don't think it's anything big for the Revs. The Revs, are going to lose a couple here and there, but they're still, how many points up? They are 14 points up still after that slip up. Pretty good numbers.
Yeah.
If Orlando wins their games in hand, then they're still like 7 points up. So I mean, it's 8 points up, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
NYCFC's got some teeth now. I mean, with the attack, Thiago Medina's played well. Maxi Morales has been really good. When you've got Thiago and Castellanos playing like they are, like that's a really good team. And if you look at all their stats, I mean, number 2 in big chances created with 46, right behind the Revs. Pretty much everything's right behind the Revs. They on technicality of like rating, if your player rating, they've been number 1 in player rating with the most average of players playing and performing well. They're like 3rd, I think, with the Revs too. So I don't know. They're a good team, and I think they don't concede hardly at all. I think they've conceded 19, which is tied with Seattle for the best defense in MLS. So again, it's a good club. They score 1.8 goals per match. They've played less games, and I think with the games in hand that they have, especially with the Revs, they'll gain some ground. And this is a team that I think with Nashville, the way that they're playing, those two right now are probably clear-cut favorites to get number 2, because Orlando's really struggled. But the other two, I think, NYCFC and Nashville, they can score and they defend really well. Orlando just hasn't scored lately.
Yeah, that's the thing. So Serge Aurier and Tottenham are mutually terminating their contracts. So Miami has just found their 13th DP there.
Wait. What? Willian, I think they moved that team from Brazil into Miami, didn't they?
Yeah. Corinthians is going.
They're using the name Corinthians, right?
They need a rebrand 2 years in. DC United beat the Philadelphia Union 3-1, which is just continuing DC United playing very well. This is at Audi Field as well. I know a lot of my Union friends went to that game, so sorry that's how it turned out for you. 22 minutes in, Steve Birnbaum, I already said 22 minutes in, own goal to give the Union the lead, but then Ola Kamara penalty kick in the 36th minute equalizes, then a Reina goal in the 49th minute, and then, of course, Abila scoring in the 90-plus fifth.
Because why not?
To seal it at 3-1. The Union are not playing well at all. There's got to be something going on. Maybe not like something serious going on behind the scenes or something, but there's got to be something going on that, this is not just a like tough stretch. This has been going on for a longer period now that you're like, something's wrong with the team. They're just not playing the same. I know a lot of people still say it's because of McKenzie and Aronson, but Aronson I can see more than McKenzie. I mean, I think the defense is still pretty decent.
What struggled.
But and we've tried many different people at the 10 and just haven't really been able to get something that works. Gazdag is still not up to snuff at this point. He probably has to just keep playing games. I don't know, or maybe he's like the Union are not adverse to bust. We just had, oh man, what was his name? Oravec, right? Is that who it was? Who joined the team last year and then never played for the Union? Yeah, Matej Oravec joined the Union, never played. He's a defensive midfielder. El Brujo kind of took his spot, and then he just never played, and we were like, okay, we just wasted money on him. He's on loan somewhere else right now, and I'm assuming he's not going to ever play for the Union. So we're not adverse to this. This is something that we're accustomed to at times, and that is what's so hard about soccer, I feel like I don't know how else to quantify. We're starting up this baseball show where we're able to talk about stats and all these metrics and stuff, which doesn't exist as much in this. So I feel like you're watching them on an eye test, or when you're scouting them, I'm sure they have better stats than what we have available to us. But also with soccer, there's so many different levels of the game. You got top European level, you got middle European level, you got bottom European levels. And then you have, USL level over here, MLS level over here. Like, there's all these different, like, okay, they could be very good in,
Yeah.
Liga MX, and
Right.
then they come over here and fail, but then they might go over to Turkey and be good. Like,
The styles are different. Yeah.
Yeah, everything is so different. While a lot of the other sports, I feel like basketball
It's pretty universal.
and baseball, it's a lot of universal styles, I
Mhm.
think, of play, or, especially like baseball. It's just one guy versus, 9 at a
Right.
time, just like pitch it and hit it.
Right.
In that, it's more of the adjustment of speed, speed of the game, speed of the
Mhm.
ball. This, it's like the speed of this, the tactics of this, the players that you're against,
Physicality.
the field, the
Yeah.
type of field it is. Is it turf, which we
Is
just
it
saw Eric?
baseball field.
Yeah, is it Yankee Stadium? Is it, turf, which we just saw Eric Williamson got his ACL torn on, which is not great for him. It's all of these like varying things, and I think that's why you have a lot of misses
Mhm.
in soccer on every level. Like,
Yeah.
how many times does City or Chelsea buy somebody
Right.
that never sees the pitch for them, and they have to loan him out, and then they're like, you know what, he just wasn't ever going to cut it here.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. Like I just said, like Gazdag might not be able to cut it. He might be going.
I mean, ask Gonzalo Higuain, who was one of the best strikers in Europe at
Mhm.
a time in his life, and now he comes over here and he goes, "This is
He just
nothing
wants
like I
to smoke a
expected."
cigarette
Yeah.
while he's playing.
And he's like, "This is a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be." And you hear that all the time with MLS. It's like, this is way more physical because these guys, that's what they're known for. It's CONCACAF. It's throwing European players into a CONCACAF situation.
Yeah.
And it's a lot different. I mean, so when you're watching World Cup and you're watching qualifying, just look at the way and the physicality of the South American teams, the Central American teams. They are very tough. North American teams, they are tough.
I mean,
gritty.
Logan, we just had a goalkeeper fake an injury in a skills challenge, right? That's how next level we are.
Right,
here.
right. I mean, there's just a different kind of physicality when you're talking about CONCACAF, because in Europe, it's much prettier. It's a clean game. It is a lot of passing, a lot of execution through passing. Whereas this is like a pinball machine, and the ball's just going every which way, and players hitting each other and running through each other, and it looks nothing like Premier League. And
then you have the championship, which is like hoofball a lot of the time, right? So like,
put it up.
The lower level you get, like, it's so hard to. That's why like stories like Jamie Vardy, who's played like almost every level of English professional. It's like, that's a crazy story because he was good at every single level, but not every player can do that.
Right. And that's a lot of the reservations that people have about DK. I mean, DK, the reason why he's not on a big club right now is, one, in fact, that he's not played extremely well and hasn't been quite fit. But two, I think you're looking at, like, I know you and I did this. We looked at championship and said it would probably be the easiest one to relate to MLS because it's very similar in the way that they attack and hardly play defense. But in this case, I mean, if you're looking at that as Chelsea, you are worried, can I put Daryl DK in? He's going to be the same because he's used to bully ball. And in the Premier League, they'll just eat him alive because their positioning's better. So it's like, what the pressing's higher, in Premier League, they're going to face better athletes in Premier League. It's just, like you said, it's great. I love this sport because it's so different no matter what planet you're playing on. It just seems like the leagues are totally
playing on
different.
Earth.
Right. So I'd argue that. But like a Leroy Sané, like that too, I thought of when you said that. Like,
yeah. Because now Bayern wants to get rid of him too.
Completely ghost for City and now Bayern, but before he had success. So it was like, where does that go? That just doesn't leave. But I think it just depends on the team and system.
Yeah. It's crazy. So we'll see how the Union fare going forward, but they're down to 5th place, which is kind of where they've been hovering in the last few weeks. And I mean, they're all kind of bunch of, if they win their next game, they're up to 35, which would be equal with Orlando and Nashville, and ahead of NYCFC. But NYCFC and Orlando and Nashville have games in hand to Philly. So like at this point, Union are going to have to hope for either a top 4 or a just top 7 and get the playoffs, because if they continue playing like they are, they might even drop out of the playoff spot because you have Columbus who's kind of turning it around. Atlanta is kind of turning it around. And then you have, DC and Montreal. Not all of those teams are going to be able to finish in the playoff spot, and you don't want to be the one that's left out of it after being there all year. So you got to figure it out, as soon as possible. Houston versus Minnesota, 1 minute in. Karaskila scoring for Houston. Then Minnesota scoring in the 16th minute and the 73rd minute through who knew? If I said that right. Let me see. It doesn't say how to pronounce his name.
That sounds right because you, I think, did this last time.
No, I didn't say that to him last time. I don't think. But I didn't want this to become a who's on first sketch, Who knew? Who knew who scored? So I wanted to make sure I was saying it right. But yeah, so Houston fire Matt Jordan, who, a lot of Houston fans have been begging to get fired, the general manager of Houston. And we'll see where they go from this because they had not won. And I think it was like 14 games before this one. So it must be up to like 15 at this rate. So not a good look for Houston. They just haven't been up to it. And it's not like you can rebrand again this offseason to distract anything. But they're currently residing in the West Coast, all the way at the bottom, 13th place with 19 points, tied with Austin, with one more game played than Austin. And you got LAFC dripping all the way down to 11th there. That's a little worrisome for them. But I think with Houston and Austin below them, LAFC can rest pretty easy with finishing above those teams. SKC and Colorado. Colorado took the lead early on through Lewis in the 17th minute, then Johnny Russell in the 41st minute to make it 1-1. That's at Children's Mercy Park. So the home game for SKC, they could only get a point. They end up currently in the West in second place, 2 points behind Seattle. They didn't really gain anything for Portland defeating Seattle. So we'll see how the West shakes out, I guess. Then we had Austin versus Dallas. This one was crazy. Jesus Ferrer in the 5th minute gives Dallas a lead, and Cascante says in the 13th minute, no, I'm going to equalize this. It makes it 1-1, and Austin fans are probably like, oh, that's a lot better. We're doing pretty good. 36th minute, Pepe scores, and then Jesus Ferrer again in the 38th minute to give a 3-1 lead over Dallas. Then Pepe in the 40th minute gives them a 4-1 lead going into halftime. Come out of halftime, O'Brien scores to make it 5-1. Then in the 59th minute, Fagunda scores, and then Ring scoring in the 68th minute to make it 5-3. They almost made the comeback. We saw reports of Austin fans leaving at halftime, and they almost made the comeback, but they couldn't do it. 5-3. Austin can beat Portland, but it seems like they can't really beat anybody else at this rate.
That sounds right. That sounds accurate.
I don't want to waste too much time on them because we got to talk the other stuff. But
yeah, US team.
Vancouver, 33rd minute, a Silva own goal to give Vancouver a 1-0 lead. Then White scoring in the 53rd minute, Gold scoring in the 64th, Youngworth scoring in the 69th, and then in the 90th minute, Julio pulling one back for Salt Lake for an uneven week for the Whitecaps because they win this weekend game, but they actually lost the Canadian Championship game that they played against Pacific FC 4-3. And then that moves Pacific FC to the quarterfinals of the Canadian Championship. So not great for Vancouver in that regard, but good for them to get some points here as they're up to 8th place. They're only 1 point behind the playoff spots at this rate. So they've kind of jumped up a lot this season from where they were. They used to be near the bottom. And then we had rounding out the night, Seattle versus Portland, which I alluded to, the Eric Williamson injury, and then also Blanco and Mora scoring to make it 2-0 Portland over Seattle at Lumen Field, which gives Portland up to 6th place. Seattle still in first with 42 points. Portland in 6th with 27. The West is going to be an all-out brawl again from 11th to 7th place. From 11th to 6th place, there's only a 3-point difference. So that's going to be a lot of interesting stuff there. The East has a bigger gap from those positions. They're at like an 8-point from 12th to 7th. So it should be fun. And let's see. Let me make sure that that's all the big stuff I want to talk about. U.S. players on the move. We just talked Jack DeVry going over to Venezia. It looks like McKennie is staying at Juve. Hoppy is going to Mallorca. Is that how you say it? Mallorca?
Yeah, Mallorca.
Maybe Mallorca.
Mallorca, sorry.
Mallorca, because they
Mallorca.
Don't pronounce the
You're
L's, right?
It's not the L. Yeah, it's Mallorca. I'm an idiot.
So, good move for Hoppy to get out of Schalke. Mallorca, by the way, is owned by Steve Nash and Stu Holden, and part of the ownership group there. So Stu Holden was pretty happy, I think, with getting Hoppy. He was very happy.
I knew it. That was beautiful.
All right, let's talk. Let's just quickly this weekend here. We got Nashville versus NYCFC at 7:30. Union versus the Revs again at Subaru Park at 7:30. Houston versus Portland at 8 o'clock. And then LAFC versus SKC at 10 o'clock on Unimas TUDN and Twitter. Then on Saturday, we have Vancouver versus Austin at 7. Orlando versus Columbus. Cincinnati versus Miami at 8 o'clock. Salt Lake and Dallas at 8 o'clock on Unimas TUDN and Twitter. And San Jose at 10 o'clock versus Colorado on Unimas TUDN and Twitter. All right, qualifiers start this week. They start on Thursday the 2nd and on CBS Sports Network, Universio, and Paramount Plus. You can watch El Salvador versus the United States at 10:05. This is in El Salvador, by the way. Also at 10 o'clock is Mexico versus Jamaica, and then Canada versus Honduras. Those are, let me just say, those are actually probably better games than the U.S. game. Canada versus Honduras, Mexico, Jamaica is going to be really good games.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are on Paramount, maybe. I think they own
should be. They all should be.
CONCACAF, right?
Yeah, they
qualifying. Now, home games are still going to be on for USA. Still going to be on ESPN and MLS, ESPN and FS1.
Yeah.
All right. So we got El Salvador. Everybody that just thinks that's an easy 3 points, El Salvador, you can look it up. The field is not great. The atmosphere is going to probably be hostile. It's going to be crazy times. And hopefully the U.S. can get out of it. Then they'll play again on Sunday, U.S. versus Canada. That's on FS1 at 8 o'clock, so more normal time on Sunday. And Costa Rica versus Mexico at 7 o'clock on Sunday. And then we round it out with Wednesday night on Paramount Plus, Honduras versus USA at 10:05, Panama versus Mexico at 8 o'clock, and Canada, El Salvador at 7:30. So we are getting 3 games. That's more than usual. It used to just be 2 games a window, but with the truncated scheduling due to COVID, we're going to have to do this, which means we're going to see a lot and use a lot of these players that we have here. And let's go ahead and just quickly look at the 23-man roster for the qualifiers. Is this the right one? No.
I can read off the one. I think it's MLS tweeted it. So
yeah, if you have
guessing that one's right. So yeah, the roster going into World Cup qualifying is Ethan Horvath from Nottingham Forest, Zach Steffen from Manchester City, Matt Turner from New England, George Bello, Atlanta United, John Anthony Brooks, Wolfsburg. They don't have Anthony on there. That's really throws me off. Sergino Dest from Barcelona, Mark McKenzie from Genk. Is that how you say that?
Yep.
Tim Ream from Fulham, Anthony Robinson from Fulham, Miles Robinson, the Gold Cup hero from Atlanta United, James Sands, NYCFC, DeAndre Yedlin from Galatasaray, Walker Zimmerman from Nashville SC, midfielders Kellen Acosta for the Rapids, Tyler Adams from Leipzig, Sebastian Lletget, LA Galaxy, Weston McKennie from Juventus, Christian Roldan from the Seattle Sounders, Brendan Aronson is one of your forwards at Salzburg. Conrad De La Fuente is at Marseille. Jordan Pifok is Young Boys. Ricardo Pepi, FC Dallas. Christian, who's that guy? Christian Pulisic from Chelsea. Gio Reyna from Dortmund. Josh Sargent, newly acquired Josh Sargent from the Premier League for Norwich City. And then Timmy Weah from Lille. And Timmy was hurt, so I don't know if Timmy will be...
He's not making it, and they're not naming a replacement. So we're just going with 22, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he picked up a knock. So that sucks, though, because I was excited to see him play. He'd been playing pretty well last season.
Yeah.
I was excited for him. But maybe Josh will get some run now that DK and them aren't around. And no Hoppy, which is, I guess, interesting.
Probably because of this. Probably because of the needing to do the transfer,
Yeah.
Pretty great squad. I saw some people complaining about Rodon and Lletget still. Whatever. We're fine.
I can't. We can have a Christian Roldan and Sebastian Lletget episode. Can we do that?
Yeah,
interesting thing.
Listen to.
Yeah, interesting thing. So Christian Roldan will be, if he does play, will be lining up against his brother Alex Roldan, who plays for El Salvador. If you did not know that, it's pretty interesting stuff there. I had no idea that he had made the choice to play for El Salvador, but he did.
Is he on El Salvador? I thought he was Guatemala.
No, he's El Salvador. United States overall record. You want some stats here, Jordan? I'll throw some stats at you.
Yeah, throw me some stats.
USA against Salvador. 18 wins. Salvador 1. El Salvador 18 losses, obviously. United States 1 loss, and they have 5 draws. So that's their World Cup qualifying record. You want even better stats? El Salvador has never beat the United States in World Cup qualifying. So naturally tomorrow, because I just said that. So naturally tomorrow, United States, not tomorrow, Thursday, our hearts will be broken.
I was going to say, if you didn't catch yourself saying that, I'd been like, well, definitely not happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
I have a good feeling it's not happening tomorrow.
Right. El Salvador, 2 World Cup appearances, 1970, 1982. It's been a while. Hugo Perez, former U.S. men's national team midfielder, is their head coach. And Thursday's match is the first World Cup qualifying meeting between the U.S. and El Salvador since 2009, which is wild. But yeah, that's your fun stats of the day.
Feeling pretty good about it. I love this team. Yeah. I love this squad. I think we'll be good. I think we'll be great. Thursday can't come soon enough at this rate. Bad thing is 10 o'clock game.
Yeah.
So
Jordan will have to text me what happens in the second half.
Yeah, that'll be a tiring. Well, hopefully we put it to bed in the first half that you're able to go to sleep soundly.
Yeah, I think 11:30 is what I'm shooting for if it all comes down to it and they're not winning by then.
Yeah, because I have to go in the office on Friday as well, so I'm like,
no, so we'll both be tired.
We'll both be very tired. But looking forward to it. That's a lot of fun. I do want to say one last thing just came in under the wire here. Cole Bassett, this was just posted 10 minutes ago by Tom Bogert. Cole Bassett is going to remain with the Rapids as he declines a move to Benfica in order to finish the MLS season.
Good for him. I just would be really sad if something happens and he can't go. But
well, I like that. I like,
I agree.
I like him staying.
Yeah.
Especially but then again, the Rapids what if he gets hurt? So good.
What if he gets hurt? Never has a chance again.
That could happen as soon as he moves. We just saw it with Jordan Morris, though. Yeah. That's so true. Like you can make the move and still get hurt, and then guess what? You're right back here anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So stay here. The Rapids are making a good push for. Yeah, geez, they're in third place on the East, on the West. They could end up, a dark horse for the MLS Cup, and then if he wins that, he's able to say, "All right, now I'm out."
Yeah,
Now
and I
I'm
guess
going.
he's got October and then a little bit of November left, so it's not
Yeah.
too much. It's not too much time, um, and he's another one I think that eventually gets on the radar for U.S. men's national team, which is crazy because all these names that we still haven't mentioned, which we could probably do a whole episode on, guys that haven't been mentioned that could play for the U.S. men's national team or at least be a target for them as time passes here. One name in particular to kind of end on a good note, like we were just talking about. I wonder what the odds of Jordan Morris playing for one of these qualifying games that don't mean as much.
Not good. I
You don't
don't
think
think
so?
they would want to rush him back. I mean, I know he's
He's going to
running
be
and
back in
stuff
November.
now. I know he's running
Yeah.
and stuff now. I think maybe in the spring
Right.
qualifiers.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Like if it was out of reach or like, if it was a game where he could just play and not have to feel like the world's on his shoulders. So
Yeah. I don't
know. It's just something to watch for, I guess.
All right. Anything else before we head out?
No. Oh, yeah. Your predicted 11, Jordan. They play a 4-3-3. Who you want in the United States?
I don't think I can give a whole 11, but I think we should see the strongest lineup possible. Adams in there, McKennie in there, Pulisic. Pulisic got some good rest due to his COVID test being positive that he was able to sit out the last 2 Chelsea games.
Who in the 9?
He'll be good to go.
Sargent?
I think they'll go Sargent. Maybe he'll fend off. Maybe he'll fare pretty well, especially in El Salvador.
Yeah.
Where he's not going to have to probably defend in his own box for 90 minutes, that he could actually get some chances to put one away, I think. But I think you could also see Pivot got called in, right?
Yeah, he scored for Young Boys today.
He was supposed to be injured. He's come back quick. So I could see him too. But I think you start with Sargent, and we'll see how it goes from there.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, if you want to give us a follow, you can follow us on Twitter at Stateside Show, Instagram at Stateside Show, Facebook.com/Stateside Show, and email us stateside@gmail.com. And we will catch you all next time.